Everyone's screaming into the void, but the people who actually get heard, they whisper. Check this out. Your average middle manager posts 1,500 personal updates every year. Meanwhile, the executives pulling down seven figures, they post 70% less but get three times the engagement. You've been told to put yourself out there since day one of your career. But what if that advice is the exact reason you're still waiting for someone to take you seriously? Picture this. You're in a conference room in Beverly Hills, sitting across from someone who built careers for people whose names you'd recognize instantly. The conversation turns to what separates stars from wannabes, and he drops this bomb. What makes someone magnetic isn't how much they reveal, it's what they choose to keep to themselves. That moment changed everything about how successful professionals think about visibility. You know that feeling when you're constantly sharing updates, insights, thoughts, but somehow your influence feels thin? There's a reason for that. The old playbook of maximum transparency doesn't work when everyone's playing by the same rules, and you're running out of time to figure out what actually does. This whole concept sits at the heart of what psychologists call controlled self-disclosure. Basically, the strategic management of what you reveal and when you reveal it. Think of your professional presence like a great novel. Bad novels tell you everything in the first chapter. Great novels give you just enough to keep turning pages, revealing deeper layers as you earn them. Most people approach their career communication like they're writing a Wikipedia entry about themselves. Comprehensive, factual, and completely forgettable. The professionals who command real respect, they understand that influence grows in the spaces between what you say, not in the volume of words you use to fill every silence. Nobody talks about this in leadership circles, but there's an inverse relationship between how much you share and how much weight each share carries. When someone gives one interview to Fortune, the business world pays attention. When someone posts 17 LinkedIn updates about their morning routine, their quarterly results, and their thoughts on industry trends, well, you scroll past it like everyone else. You've probably seen this play out with colleagues. The person who sends detailed status reports twice daily versus the one who sends a single substantive update weekly. Guess which one gets invited to the strategy meetings? Stanford researchers tracked communication patterns across Fortune 500 companies and found something fascinating. Executives rated as most influential by their peers communicated 42% less frequently than their counterparts, but each communication scored significantly higher on impact metrics. Stop for a second and think about yesterday. How many messages did you send? Emails, Slack notifications, social media posts, text updates to your team. Now ask yourself this, how many of those actually moved your career forward in a measurable way? You're caught in what leadership experts quietly call the visibility trap. It's this belief that being seen constantly equals building influence. But here's what's actually happening. You're training people to tune you out. The most respected voices in your industry aren't the loudest ones. Quality beats quantity, but not in the way you think. You've probably heard that before, but most people interpret it as post less, make it better. That's only half the equation. The other half is understanding that restraint itself communicates something powerful about your judgment. Consider this scenario. You're an investor, and two startup founders are updating you on their progress. One sends you daily emails with every metric, every small win, every challenge they're navigating. The other sends bi-weekly updates with genuine insights, strategic thinking, and clear asks for support. Which founder seems more in control of their business? Which one would you trust with additional funding? The second founder isn't just communicating better information. They're demonstrating the kind of executive judgment that scales. When you don't feel compelled to justify every decision or seek validation for every move, you signal something crucial: confidence in your own assessment of what matters. Maybe you've been in this position. You start a new role, maybe launch a side project, and you follow all the conventional wisdom about building your professional brand. You post regularly, share every insight, respond to every trend, engage with every conversation in your field. The metrics look decent. People are seeing your content, but something feels off. The engagement is surface level. The opportunities aren't materializing. You're putting in all this effort, but somehow feeling more invisible than before. Then you have a conversation with someone who's built real influence, maybe a mentor, maybe just someone you respect, and they tell you something that sounds completely backwards. Stop trying so hard to be seen. For months, it feels like professional suicide. You're watching other people post constantly while you're sitting on the sidelines. But then something shifts. The people who do engage with your reduced output are different. They're asking better questions. They're bringing real opportunities. You realize you weren't building influence before. You were building noise. The psychology behind this gets fascinating when you understand something called narrative gaps. When you don't fill in every detail of your professional story, something interesting happens. Other people's minds automatically complete the picture, and they almost always do it in ways that benefit you. This is why Steve Jobs could create massive anticipation by revealing almost nothing about upcoming products. This is why the most effective leaders can command attention with a single sentence, while others struggle to get noticed with entire presentations. For those just starting to apply this principle, cut your professional communication frequency in half while doubling the preparation time for each piece. For those ready to go deeper, experiment with what I call intentional information asymmetry. Share deep expertise in your core area while maintaining strategic mystery about your methods, your next moves, your full capabilities. You're creating a professional narrative that people want to discover rather than one they feel like they already know. The executive coaching world has been quietly moving away from the radical transparency movement that dominated the early social media era. At leadership conferences, there's growing discussion around strategic authenticity, the careful curation of professional narrative without sacrificing genuine connection. Some coaches still push for complete openness, arguing that authenticity demands total transparency. But the data increasingly favors professionals who maintain some degree of strategic mystery. One CEO put it perfectly: "My team needs to know my values completely, but my next 3 moves? They only need to know the one that affects them." The most sophisticated leaders understand that mystery isn't about deception, it's about focus. Transform your communication approach with this framework. Start by auditing everything you've communicated professionally in the past week. Every email, post, call, update, comment. Count them. Then identify which 20% generated 80% of your meaningful professional outcomes. Most people discover they're shocked by how much low-value communication they're producing. Next, ruthlessly eliminate anything that doesn't either solve a specific problem for someone or advance a relationship that matters to your goals. Create intentional information gaps that align with your expertise. Become known for deep insights in your specialty while maintaining curiosity about your methods. Make every professional communication pass this test. Does this either demonstrate unique value or strengthen a strategic relationship? If it doesn't clear both bars, don't send it. Finally, develop what successful leaders call communication discipline, the ability to sit with information without immediately sharing it, to let others wonder about your perspective before you offer it. This strategic approach to professional communication is exactly what we've designed into Creativeview.coach. The platform guides you through daily conversations specifically focused on refining how you show up professionally. Not just what you say, but when you say it, how you say it, and crucially, when you choose not to say anything at all. The 30-day Communication Mastery Challenge helps you identify your highest leverage interaction patterns while eliminating the noise that's diluting your professional impact. For just 1.5% of what traditional executive coaching costs, you get personalized guidance that remains completely confidential, giving you space to experiment with communication strategies before deploying them in high-stakes professional situations. You can test different approaches, refine your professional voice, and build the kind of strategic communication skills that separate influential leaders from everyone else fighting for attention. You now understand why less communication often creates more influence. But understanding without implementation won't change your professional trajectory. Visit Creativeview.coach today and begin your Communication Mastery Challenge. Tell me this: what's one professional situation where you suspect you might be over-communicating, where you're saying too much and getting too little response? Drop that in the comments, and you'll get strategic communication suggestions tailored specifically to your scenario. Thank you for investing this time in your professional development. Next week, we'll explore the counterintuitive relationship between vulnerability and authority, another leadership paradox that separates influential professionals from everyone else fighting for the same opportunities. Remember this: in a world where everyone is fighting to be seen, true influence comes from being worth seeing. Your next leadership breakthrough might just be one strategic silence away.